How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or unknown coder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. As always, if you guys don't want access to the private repository for this project, there's a link in the description down below that'll walk you through exactly how to gain access to that. Now, with that being said, let's go and hop into what we're working on today. Today, we're just going to go ahead and work on a hodgepodge of different things because there's a bunch of small little things that we need to go ahead and fix/wrap up before I go ahead and head out to Iowa for 2 weeks. Whenever you guys see this video, I'll probably be back, but I just want to go ahead and wrap up some things. That way, whenever I get over there, one, I can go ahead and just worry about wrapping up and polishing up the things for the project/the course that I'm going to be working on and recording whenever I get back. And two, I want to be able to just work on something fresh and new for the project whenever I get there. I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and go through and finish up this list page right here, try to get it all the way done, and then make episodes of that whenever I get back. And that'll also help me get a backlog. That way, yet again, I can work on recording and editing this new course I want to work on without being behind. So with that being said, let's go and hop into the code, get to work, and see if we can get all of this stuff done before I head off back home. So today we're going to go ahead and sadly start out by deleting our feed post audience dropdown. It's no longer being used. It's no longer needed. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of it. Let's go ahead and save everything, and let's just make sure that it didn't break the application. I'm pretty sure I took it out of everywhere that was being used, but let's just check it. So it is still being used. Import it in the feed post creator, but other than that, that looks like the only issue. So we will get rid of that in a second. We're going to go through and make some more changes before we do that. So now we're going to go ahead and hop into our edit medium modal controls. So I think that is inside of our components, edit medium modal. We need to go into the control CSS, and down here there's a width 50. We want this to go ahead and be width 50%. That was a typo I noticed while I was editing, and there's going to be a few more of these. Next, we're going to go into the modal.css. So let's hop into modal. Here, this z-index1 is not cutting it. There's some things that are kind of rendering over top of it that we don't want to see. So we're going to go ahead and put this at 200. This may need to be adjusted a little bit later on, but we'll go ahead and see as we get going. And then next, there's also a feed top bar. This again, sometimes whenever you open up the modal, it was kind of being rendered over top, but it wasn't being rendered over top of other things. So we want to go ahead and fix that as well. So let's hop into the feed top bar.css. So once again, here, we're going to go ahead and put a z-index in this guy. So first, we actually need a border left because it's missing a border. So we're going to go ahead and throw a border left on this guy, 1px solid, and it's going to be RGBA 170185.4 actually 194.25, same as the one above. And then I'll just go ahead and put this one down here. I don't think it matters where it goes. We're going to go ahead and throw a z-index on this, so about 100. Again, this could be tweaked a little bit later on, but it wasn't really rendering properly, so I wanted to go ahead and fix that up. So now we need to go ahead and make some more CSS changes and a few other ones. So, and this is just because we had made some changes in previous episodes whenever we were working on refactoring our post. So now we're going to go into the create post text area.css and make an update. And here we're going to go ahead and come down to our create post text area input. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of the margin top on this. Go and save that. Now we're also going to go into the feed post creator.css. Once again, we're going to make some changes. So we're going to go into our feed post creator right. And we're going to get rid of this margin top. And we're going to go into the feed post creator bottom icons, wherever this is. And we can probably also get rid of this audience. We're not going to need that. We're not going to need this either. But wherever our bottom icons are, I might have missed them. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and also get rid of the margin top here. It's a little bit too much spacing. I made some changes and whatnot, so we want to make sure that looks good. Now we need to go ahead and hop into our feed post creator frozen GIF component because we are still using one of the old dispatches from the old post slice. So let's go ahead and hop in there. So inside of our frozen GIF component, let's go ahead and scroll down. There should be a dispatch in here that says update current post. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is this is actually going to turn into update post date. So update post date. And now instead of name images, we're going to go ahead and update value, property. And this is going to go ahead and be GIF. We're still going to pass images, and now we're just going to go ahead and add this import. And now we can also come up here. Let's go ahead and delete the old import that we don't need. So now we're using PostSlice v2 instead of PostSlice version 1. So that's fixed up. And now we can go ahead and get into the bulk of our changes. So now we want to go ahead and hop into the feed post creator.tsx, where we're going to go ahead and start working on setting some stuff up so we can start making some replies. Inside our feed post creator, let's go ahead and clean up some of the stuff that we don't need. And that should go ahead and fix up all of the stuff that was broken. Let's just check to make sure. So now if we refresh, it's looking good. And this we're going to go and fix. And then right now it's missing some margin, but we're going to do some checks to make sure that we actually want to see the margin, because this is getting used in a couple places. So we can't just slap it in generally. So this is going to be fun because there's a lot of stuff on specific lines that we want to change, and who knows if it's actually going to be on the proper line. So the first one is about line 85, and it's going to be where we have this guy, I believe. So let's see here, or 84, feed post creator right, that's correct. So now we're going to go ahead and throw a style on this. Style equal to double curly braces, and this is going to be margin top colon. It's going to be create post, DTO dot active. So if it's active, then we're going to go ahead and have 0px, 0px. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and have 15px, and that looks good. We might still make a couple of other changes here. So if it still doesn't work 100%, just bear with me. We're probably going to go ahead and make extra changes. And then here, we're going to go ahead and check to make sure this is not a reply, because we're going to start making replies and it shares the same code. So we're going to say not create post DTO dot reply. And actually we want is reply. And this, so now this will only show up if it's not a reply, and we have a lot of other stuff to do this too as well. So we're going to come down here to this shows, let's see here, create post text error. We're going to go ahead and wrap this as well. Let's go ahead and wrap this in curly braces. And then inside here, we're going to go ahead and say not create, create post DTO. If I could type create post DTO dot is reply. And this, if it's not a reply, we'll go ahead and show it in here. And then once again, we'll do the same thing on line 92, not create post DTO dot is reply, and all that. And then same thing with pull. So as long as it is not a reply, we'll go ahead and show this, create post DTO that is reply, and this. And then once again, for reply restriction drop down, we'll go ahead and do the same thing. So here we might need to wrap it, we might not. Create post DTO is reply, and this. So now that's fine. And then our button cluster, I'm not sure if we mess with or not. Line 95, we're going to go ahead and change some stuff in the class name. So we're going to check to see not not create post DTO that is reply. I can't type, is reply, and this. So, and create post DTO active. Then we'll go ahead and work on that. That's cool. Then we're going to come down to line 99. So here, once again, we're going to say not create post DTO. I can't type, create post DTO that is reply. And we have content, and we should be almost done here. Now we're going to come down to line 119. So right here. So once again, we're going to check for this and not create post DTO that is reply, and this. All right, so now we're basically only going to go ahead and render all of this stuff inside of our feed post creator itself if we're not making reply. And this is because, like I said, we're going to be sharing the same state between our reply and our post. So if we're making a reply, we don't want the feed post creator to be active. We only want the create reply to be active, and vice versa. So that's why we're adding all of that stuff in there. So now we're going to go ahead and hop into our PostgreSQL v2, update something that I had broken, and then also add in the code. That way we can go ahead and start making replies as well. So first things first, let's come down to our create post async thunk. And here I missed a colon, so we want to go ahead and fix that. I don't know how that didn't break. And then also I misspelled audience down here, which doesn't really matter. But let's at least spell this right. That way it's not broken. Again, we're not even passing audience or anything, but it is what it is. And now here comes the fun part. We need to come down here to where we are making a new post, and we need to say let reply to equal to null. We need to actually fill in this data. That way, whenever we click on a post and we want to see all the replies on it, it's actually going to work properly. So if, and we're going to go ahead and say res.data, data reply to is greater than 0. And we don't have a state.feed.current post. So now we're going to go and do let reply to res equal to await axios.get. And we're going to go ahead and fetch that post. So http localhost 8000 /post /id / curly brace res.data.reply to. So we're going to get the actual post. If I were to go back and do this, I would 100% just apply the post onto there, but it is what it is. We're going to go ahead and say reply to is equal to reply to res.data, and it seems like it's mad at me, but okay, I think it's fine now. Now we have let new post. We have res.data reply to. It's just going to go ahead and be reply to now, and if it's null, it's null. If not, it's fine. Repost to be false, and that's fine. And then we're going to go ahead and check if not state.feed.current post. Then we're going to go ahead and say set feed post with this. So let's go ahead and delete this and do that. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and say thunk API.dispatch set feed post. And here we're going to go and say post comma new post. And the reasoning for this is whenever we click on an individual post and view an individual post, we basically set the entire feed page to display that post and all of its replies. So if we have a current feed post, then we want to go ahead and put that reply on the bottom of the feed rather than the top of the feed. So that's why we're doing that. And finally, we're going to go ahead and make a really quick reducer at the bottom here to reset the state in here. Let's just come to the bottom. I don't believe this exists, but maybe it does. It doesn't. So we're going to go ahead and say reset post state. It's just going to take in state, and here we're just going to go ahead and return our initial state. So that one's easy enough. Let's go ahead and export this guy. So let's come to the bottom here, and we might just start breaking this up and making it look prettier, but it is what it is. So now we'll go ahead and say reset post state, and that is good to go. Cool. So now we should be on our way to being able to create a post or reply, not a post, I'm sorry. So now let's actually go into the create reply body and start setting this up. Inside our create reply body, we got a couple things we need to clean up. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the stuff that we don't need. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the emoji drop down. Let's go and get rid of display emojis. We're not using those anyway. We're going to go ahead and say const create post DTO is equal to use selector. And then here we're going to go ahead and say state root state, and we're going to have a state.post v2. I don't remember how much of this we can remove, so I'm not going to remove it quite yet, but I'll remove it later. Now inside the use effect, we're going to go ahead and instead of checking for post date.current post, we're going to go ahead and say create post DTO, .author. And we're going to try to remember to basically remove or delete the post if we click on another one, but it is what it is. And now instead of dispatching initialize current reply, we're going to go ahead and dispatch initialize current post or initialize new post from our post size v2. Go ahead and set our object here. Author will be user. We'll go ahead and have is reply will be true this time because it's a reply, and then reply to is going to be feed post .post.id, and that should be fine as well because we have it from our current post. So we are still going to use that. I don't think we need the post date anymore. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and then inside of this guy, we are still going to watch the feed post.post.id. We'll still watch user.user.id, but we're going to go ahead and watch create post DTO .images, and we'll watch create post DTO .gif for those to change, and that should be fine. And now we also do not need this initialize current reply, so that can be removed. That looks good. Now we're going to come down to about line 70, and hopefully this is the correct place. Line 70 is definitely mad at us, so here we're going to go ahead and say create post DTO that is reply, and that is fine. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So instead of post date, now we're going to go ahead and say create post.dto, create post DTO, and instead of current images, it's just going to be images. So let's go ahead and delete this. Images.length is greater than 0, and then here this will be create post DTO.gif. Let's go ahead and actually clear this out, and this will be create post DTO.gif, and not equal to undefined. like that, and that should be fine. And then here also do create post DTO has a poll. So create post DTO dot poll not equal to undefined, like so. Okay, so that should go ahead and set it up to be able to create a post and have everything we need. Now we need to go ahead and update the create reply bottom component. And now this one has a lot of refactoring in it, unfortunately. So it's basically more or less going to be a rewrite. I don't think it's that much code in general, but it's going to take up the most time here. And hopefully we have enough time to do this entire episode like I want. It's going to be a tight squeeze, but let's hop into create reply bottom component. So inside of our create reply bottom, we're going to go ahead and add a new property to our prop. So this is going to go ahead and have a location of string. Let's go ahead and throw the location here. So we'll have type, and then we'll have comma and location, like so. And then now we're going to go ahead and still have display emojis. Instead of post date, this is going to be create post DTO. So let's go ahead and say const and delete all of this. This will be create post DTO is equal to use selector, and then we'll have state root state dot post v2. We will still have our token, except instead of token, we're going to go ahead and break this up, and this is going to go ahead and be logged in comma token, like so. We'll break that up a little bit better, and that's good to go. So now we need to go ahead and make some changes here. So inside of our generate button class, we're still going to go ahead and have reply. So we're going to go ahead and say create post maybe DTO is reply. We're going to make sure it's a reply, and then we are still going to have let content equal to, and then this will go ahead and be post create post DTO dot content. So we'll still go ahead and check that, and then let's go ahead and clean this up. So I'm going to go to the right over here, and we're going to go ahead and I guess we'll probably keep these guys. So let's just go ahead and do that, and then we'll clean up this bit. So we're still going to go ahead and check for content. So let's just go ahead and remove this stuff, and we'll start cleaning this up. So if we have content for create post DTO dot, and then images dot length is greater than 0, or we have a create post DTO dot gif, maybe gif is not equal to undefined, or we have a create post DTO dot poll is not equal to undefined, and then we can go ahead and do our question mark and all of this stuff. And then we still had a return here, submit reply button and reply inactive, so that is fine, so looks good. Now we need to go ahead and update our activate button as well, and it's going to be very similar, basically going to be the opposite of what we had over here. So here we're going to go ahead and have our create post DTO, and then dot is reply. Once again, we want to make sure it's reply, and then here once again we're going to have and check our content. So let's go ahead and delete this, create post DTO dot content. So if we don't have content, and then here we'll have create post DTO, create post DTO dot images dot length is greater than 0. Here we'll go ahead and have create post DTO create post DTO dot gif not equal to undefined, and then finally we'll have create post DTO dot poll is not undefined. So create post DTO dot poll not equal to undefined, and then go ahead and wrap that, and that should be fine. So now we can go through and set up post reply. So this one I'm just going to go ahead and completely rewrite because it's quite different. Let's go ahead and delete this. We're also going to go ahead and stop propagation just to be safe here. If we have our create post DTO dot is reply, so as long as we have a reply, we're going to go ahead and say also if we have logged in and we have a token and our create post DTO has an author, author, we probably could have all done this in the top one, but it is what it is. I was basically just trying to reuse as much as I can here. Let submit post body, and this is I think a copy paste from our create post, but I don't remember. Author is create post DTO author. We're gonna go ahead and have our content, which is create post DTO dot content. We're gonna go ahead and have scheduled maybe scheduled will be create post DTO dot scheduled. We'll have scheduled, whoops, maybe if I could type scheduled date, which would be create post GTO dot scheduled date question mark. If that's the case, it'll be create post GTO dot scheduled date. Otherwise, it'll be null. And then we'll have audience. Again, we don't need to send audience because it is not being used, but it is what it is. Create post DTO dot audience. And then we will go ahead and have reply restriction. If I could type, that'd be cool. And this will be create post DTO reply restriction. And we're getting closer here. Images, create post DTO. Images, we'll have GIF, which is create post DTO dot GIF question mark. If there's a GIF, we'll have create post DTO dot GIF. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and say null, and we'll have a poll, just create post DTO dot poll. If there's a poll, we'll say create post DTO dot poll, or it'll be null. And then finally, we'll have is reply, which is true. It's already set to true, but it is what it is. Reply to, we'll go ahead and be create post DTO dot reply, reply to, and we'll have our token. So we have our body. After we have our body, we'll go ahead, and I went too far. We want to make sure we're still inside the if statement. We'll go ahead and dispatch, and here we'll go ahead and dispatch create post, and hopefully that came from the correct place. Create post, we'll have a submit post body like so, and that should go ahead and submit that guy. And I broke something here. I'm guessing create post came from the wrong place. Let me see here. Go and delete that. Create post came from the old slice. Let's go ahead and fix this as well. So this needs to come from post slice v2. Come on, let me import it, please. It's going to be dumb. Let me go ahead and try this again. So we're going to go ahead and try this again. Create post. Make sure it comes from post slice v2. There we go. Submit post body, and now it should be fine. Cool. So now we need to go through and update this. So here I think it might be primarily the same, except we're just gonna go and check for is reply instead. So here we're gonna go ahead and say create post DTO dot is reply, like that. And then here we're gonna go ahead and check for create post DTO dot content. So here we'll go ahead and say and create post DTO dot content is not equal to that. And then here we need to go ahead and check for is reply. So go ahead and check for create post DTO dot is reply. And then here we'll have create post DTO dot length. So let's go ahead and delete this. Create post DTO dot content dot length divided by this. And we need to also check that there's content. We're going to go and say and create post DTO dot content not equal to an empty string. So we need to go ahead and wrap those together, but that should be fine. And we just need to go ahead and check for create post is reply here. So we're gonna go ahead and say create post DTO dot is reply, like that, and that hopefully is fine. So now we need to go ahead and update our create reply component itself. So let's hop in there. So now it's gonna be mad because this needs a location. So let's go ahead and throw the location in here. I don't remember exactly what the location was for and if we end up still using it, but location to go ahead and be modal. Go ahead and save that guy. And then we also need to go ahead and make one more change in our create reply top. Inside of our create reply top, whenever we toggle reply, we're gonna go ahead and reset the post state as well. So I'm gonna come down here. So dispatch, and we're going to go ahead and reset post state. So what this is going to go and do is if we were writing a post originally inside of like the feed or whatever or somewhere else, it'll go ahead and wipe all that data. That way the data doesn't show up inside of our create reply. So now in theory we should be able to start like creating a post, but we need to update Java before we actually send it over. Let's hop into our Java backend and get that set up. Inside of our post service, let's go ahead and scroll down to our create post right here. So now first we need to go ahead and set reply to true here. So post.set reply, and this one needs to be true. And then here we need to go ahead and say post.set reply Go ahead and set that to false. That looks good. And then we need to go ahead and come down to about line 141. So down here, it's going to be near the bottom, and it might not be line 141. Let me double check where this is at in the code. So it's going to be under create and send notification. So we're going to go ahead and put it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say if our posted dot get reply and 2 is greater than 0. If that's the case, we're going to say post original, maybe original is equal to post repo dot get by ID. And it's going to be posted dot get reply to. So if we have a reply to, we're going to go ahead and get this. We're going to set and post, set post. And then here we're going to go ahead and say replies is equal to, and then original dot get replies. So we're going to get the other replies for this. We're going to go and say replies dot add, and we're going to go ahead and add posted, and then we're going to go ahead and say original dot save or set replies, like so. Pass in those replies, and then we're going to go ahead and say post repo. Post repo dot save. We weren't getting the reply back because we weren't updating the original post as well, because we need to add the replies on there. That's what we are doing there, and now that should be fine. So now hopefully we should be able to make a post or a reply. It's gonna look probably a little bit funky to get this working or like in other places, but hopefully we should be able to make a reply. And I'm just looking through to see if there's anything else that we have broken here. We might not get to what I wanted to get done today. I wanted to also fix up individual replies and individual posts, but we're getting to about 40 minutes, I'm thinking here. Actually, no, I'm at 30. We should be okay. So let's go ahead and hop in here and let's see. So there is a create reply bottom broken, and this is going to be an individual reply. So let's go ahead and fix that really quick. So let's just make sure we can actually load the app. So here on create reply bottom, we're going to go ahead and say location equal to, I don't remember what we set the location to, so let me look really quick. So here, this location is going to be individual. So individual, like so. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's make sure this is going to render now. Okay, it is in fact rendering. Now let's see if we can just make a quick reply. Hopefully it's not completely broken. So I'm just going to go ahead and say trying to make a normal reply. I'm gonna go ahead and reply. It takes a second because we are editing stuff. So it did go through. We are not dispatching this to close. So I might want to either double check that I actually did that properly. I think that I just straight up forgot whenever I did the post reply. Let's hop back into the code really quick, fix this. But the reply did go through. At least I thought I'd seen it go through. Maybe it didn't. Yeah, it did. Okay. And for some reason, the feed wasn't updating, but we can debug that a little bit later. Let's hop back into the code and make sure that this is actually going to close the modal. So now we also want to go ahead and at the bottom of this guy, we're going to go ahead and dispatch. Dispatch. And this is going to be update. Actually, we're going to check the location. So this is where the location comes in. If location is equal to modal, then we're going to go ahead and dispatch and update display. And we're going to go and update display create reply, like so. And then go ahead and let's save this. Let's hop back into the code really quick. Let's go and give it a refresh to just try it out again. And then let's go ahead and make a reply to this one. We'll just say making another reply. Go ahead and reply. That's fine. I don't know why it's not updating in here. We might need to look into that in another episode because we're not going to have maybe enough time to double check that. And we can double check Redux, stuff like that, and I might be able to update us. But I want to go ahead and keep chugging along here. And if we fix it, we fix it. If not, I'll just circle back. So let's go ahead and hop into the post content. There's a couple things we need to change in there. So right now, our view image is kind of broken. So that's what we're going to go ahead and fix next. So we're going to go ahead and have inside of here, we're going to actually change our post to a feed post. So we're going to go ahead and say feed post here, and this is going to break some stuff, but that's fine. So now here, we're going to go ahead and say post.post.images and post.post.post ID. We could have renamed this to something better, but it is what it is. Here, we're going to go ahead and say post.post.content. And then here, we're going to go ahead and say post.post images, and then here we're going to keep post I reply to. That's fine. And then what we're going to go and do is there's something else we want to change. I think actually that's everything in here. Now we need to go ahead and update the post component that uses this. Instead of post, we're going to go ahead and scroll down. There's going to be something broken in here. So there should be a post content in here that's complaining here. So now instead of passing the feed post.post, we're just going to pass feed post and save that. So that's fine. And then we need to go into an individual post and set up so this works. So let's hop in there. Instead of individual post, it's once again going to be broken. So here we're going to go ahead and set up a new piece of state. So we're going to go ahead and have a const, and this is going to be feed post set feed post is equal to use state, and then in here we're going to go ahead and be a feed post for undefined, and then we're just going to start as undefined. I don't know why use state didn't want to import. Let's go ahead and try this again. There we go. Go and import that as well. And then now what we're going to go ahead and do, I believe it says line 41, so I think it's going to go ahead and be here, and then this is going to be set feed post. And instead of set feed post, we're going to go ahead and have post. So the post that is our current reply to is going to be null because we're viewing an individual post. Our repost will be false. And then we're going to go ahead and have repost user. We're just going to go through post.author because it's just going to ignore it. Now we're going to go ahead and set that guy up. And then now we need to find our post component, and this is going to go ahead and be feed post. So feed post, and this is to go ahead and fix the ability to view individual post. Now we need to go ahead and fix our individual reply. So let's hop into there. Now inside of individual reply, we're going to make a couple changes. So instead of post state, we're going to go ahead and have our feed post creator. So we're going to go ahead and say const feed, actually not feed post creator, create post DTO. I'm sorry, create post DTO. So go to use selector. We're going to have state root state. And then here's going to be state.post v2. And then this is going to break some stuff, which is fine. Go ahead and save this. So now inside of init reply, we're going to go and check for a user. And here we're going to go ahead and say not create post GTO author. And then we'll go ahead and instead of initialize current reply, we're going to initialize a new post. Let's go ahead and clean this up. So here we're going to say initialize new post from v2. We're going to go ahead and say author is the user, which gets passed in. We're going to reply, and this is going to go ahead and be true. And then reply to is going to be original dot post ID. So that's going to go ahead and initialize that. And now we need to go ahead and check for is reply. So go ahead and say create post DTO.is reply question mark. Sorry about that hiccup. We're going to say create post DTO.is reply. Same thing here. We're going to go ahead and say create post DTO.is reply. We're going to come down the line here, and once again this is going to go ahead and be create post DTO images dot length is greater than 0. And then here we're going to check the same thing. We don't need all of this stuff. We're just going to say or, and then this is going to be create post DTO dot gif is not equal to undefined, like that. And then we need to go ahead and check here. So is it a reply? So go ahead and say create post DTO is reply. And then once again here we're going to go ahead and check not create, create post DTO. I don't know why we check is reply here, but whatever, that is fine. So that is good to go. Now there's just a couple more things I want to do to wrap up the episode. Let's go into the post banner, and we're going to go ahead and clean some stuff up. Inside of our post banner, whenever we navigate home, we're going to go ahead and clean some stuff up and reset our post state. So this is kind of like in our view post. So we're going to go ahead, and that reminds me, I don't know if we actually ever updated view post. Let me double check. We might have skipped over that, or maybe we did it. I don't remember. So I guess maybe we don't need to update view post. It kind of makes me nervous because that was like one of the important things that I thought was broken, but we'll see here. So here we're going to go ahead and set up a use dispatch. So const dispatch is an app dispatch and equal to use use dispatch. And we're going to go ahead and do this. So now we're going to go ahead and dispatch a few things. So we're going to go ahead, and whenever we close out of the post review, I'm going to set our current post to undefined inside of our feed slice. So this should help us reset our feed post or our post dispatch. We're going to go ahead, dispatch, That's going to go ahead and be set feed post to an empty array. We're going to go ahead and dispatch. We're going to go ahead and set reset post state. And if we are making a reply, we'll go ahead and reset that as well. Let's go and import set feed post from our feed slice. So now whenever we navigate off of a post that we are viewing, it's going to go ahead and clear out that state for us. So now let's go ahead and give this a refresh. Let's see if I broke anything. It looks like I did break something in individual post. So undefined is not assignable to feed post. So I'm guessing that I just forgot to wrap this. So let's go ahead and hop in to individual post and see if I just forgot something. I didn't, so I don't know why it's not working. Actually, yeah, I did. So let's hop in there really quick. So here we'll go ahead and wrap this. I just forgot to do that. Feed post and this. And this should always be true, so I'm not too worried about it not coming back and not displaying the content. So that should fix that. Now we can go ahead and just give it a spin. Hopefully everything works. If there's still a couple things a little bit finicky, we'll fix those. But now you can actually see that these show up as replies like they're supposed to. We click on this guy, you can see the reply in there, post reply. This, we still need a little bit of work. You can try to make a new reply. Actually, let's go ahead and make it on one that we have it. So if we refresh, it's going to load for a second and it should refresh that. And let's actually hop into the individual post itself. So hop in here. We can try to make a reply on a post individual like so. Reply, and it might take a second, and now it's there. So it looks good. Go back to here, it refreshes, and you can see everything. So that's basically the gist. The last thing I want to go ahead and do is just clean up some code that we're not using to make it a little bit cleaner. So let's hop back into the code, do that, and we'll wrap up the episode. So let's first hop into the feed post creator GIF modal display. Inside here, we are not using update current post. Let's go and clean that up. Let's hop into the feed post creator image. Here, we are not using this, we're not using this, so let's go and clean those up. Let's hop into the feed post reply restriction dropdown. So again, we're not using this guy. We can also get rid of this use effect, so let's go and clean this up a little bit as well. Let's hop into the feed post creator frozen GIF component, which I think we already cleaned up. Let's just double check it. So yes, we already cleaned this one. And finally, let's hop into the schedule post modal content. Once again, we are not saying using this, we're not using this, and that should be good. Let's just make sure we are still rendering. Everything is still rendering. It looks good. Let's just give it a refresh. And you can see that this kind of fixed itself and everything like that. So that is looking good. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode. We went through and did a lot of changes here, but we went ahead and wrapped up a bunch of stuff. That way I have a nice clean slate to work on and not as many bugs as I had before. Now there's still some bugs that I've written down that I'll work on whenever I get back from Iowa, but that's going to go ahead and do it. So if y'all did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here in the YouTube algorithm. If you do want to see where we start from absolute scratch, I get the point right now. There's a playlist in the in card like over here, I think, that will walk you through exactly how to gain access to that. So with that being said, y'all, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.